Film, gaming, pop culture. Welcome to episode 14 of Everything is Permitted. I'm your host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-host, Matt Reppert. How you doing?
Not too bad. How you doing?
I'm doing, man. We're back for yet another episode.
Another episode, yeah.
We're here at Wade's Comic Madness as always, pre-recorded. So you're listening on a Tuesday morning or maybe a Tuesday commute home from work, one or the other. Wade, the proprietor and owner of this store, wanted me to mention that you could have come here on Saturday for Hellboy Day, but it's Tuesday, and that was 72 hours ago. But he wanted me to tell you anyway. You could have been here, and you weren't. So
for shame, listeners, for shame.
For shame, because, you know, Hellboy's pretty cool, even though I've never seen
You've never seen any of the Hellboy
No.
movies. They're not. I'm not going to say they're great movies, but they're solid movies.
The new one looks fun, maybe.
I'm a little skeptical about it just because Ron Perlman is like the man, and whenever I think of Hellboy, I think of Ron Perlman.
Well, and I thought that was Ron Perlman the first time I saw anything for it. It's the guy from Stranger Things.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. I forget his name.
So, but yeah, like I said, we're here at Wade's, our awesome home. We're not recording in the basement of awesome today because, as is becoming a running theme for our show, I always forget to bring something or forget to do something. And this time around, it was forgetting to charge the laptop, which is, you know, what we need to record the show. So we're sitting next to a plug, and we had massive...
We need like a little counter that goes every time he forgets something.
A counter or something on the wall. What did Julian forget this week? Yeah, maybe we need to do that. So before I start, I don't really have a big rant this week. I do want to give a couple of shout outs. Matt and I are part of a pretty cool community called Promote Your Podcast. It's for fellow podcasters. It's a good way to kind of get your show out and get your name out to get more listeners and stuff, because that's what we want. We want to get our show accessible to everybody. And through that, I actually met this, not physically yet, we're going to at some point, met this really nice guy, Sean Harrigan, and found out that he records a show called The Cinescape, which is recorded locally just a few, 20 minutes away in Hatboro. Yeah. And lives in Mooresville and is familiar with Wade's. And I thought that was really cool. So Sean's actually going to come on our show in a couple of weeks during, not that it has anything to do with it, but during WrestleMania weekend. I'm going to WrestleMania. I have to brag about that. But I just want to say, check out their website. It's kind of like ours. They focus more on film and television, a broader scape of it, not just like the geeky stuff. If you want to check it out, their website is www.thecinescape.com. Another kind of cool announcement with that. One of the shows that they do, I think they do it monthly, Sean will tell me if I'm wrong in a couple of weeks, is they do a trivia challenge, and I've been invited to take part in one of their, it's like a game show.
Nice.
One of their trivia challenges. So wish me luck. I'm going to try and represent Everything is Permitted well. I think I know my shit.
You probably don't.
I probably don't.
Everybody thinks they know something until the pressure's on and they're in the moment. Like when somebody watches Jeopardy and be like, "Oh, I could have gotten that right." Like, no, you couldn't.
You stole the words right out of my mouth. Like every now and then, like we'll put on Jeopardy, be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna kick ass." I'm like, "Oh man, I'm really fucking dumb." But so yeah, check out thecinescape.com, and Sean's gonna be joining us in a couple of weeks. And like I said, I'm gonna do one of his trivia challenges. I'm pretty stoked about. Another big piece of business to get to, if you were on Instagram and Facebook this week, we announced the Great Permitted Rewatch.
Yes.
This is going to take place April 4th to April 24th. So that basically means starting on that day, you are going to watch with us. And obviously not everybody can watch one every single day, but the plan is to at least hope to, and if you have to make some days up, you can. But is to watch every single MCU film, and as Kevin Feige is calling it, the Infinity Saga. He's officially dubbed all of these movies that take place up to Infinity War and Endgame the Infinity Saga. So instead of watching them in the order that they came out, which would be starting with Iron Man, you're going to watch them in their actual yearly chronological order.
They're chronological,
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'd start with Captain America, Captain Marvel, and then Iron Man 1 and 2, so on and so forth. The list is on our Instagram. The list is on our Facebook and everything. We're going to be, as it gets closer, it's about a little less than 2 weeks away. We're going to give you some more details on that. I'm working on creating a nifty little calendar that you could just click on, and it'll go right onto your phone. So it reminds you, hey, Today's the day. Today's the day that you have to watch The Winter Soldier.
Today's the day you watch Iron Man 3.
Yeah. So, and there is an incentive for doing this. If you could prove to us, so whether it's you take like a picture of you and your TV watching the movie, or you check off your checklist. We have the checklist handy on our Instagram and Facebook. And if you watch every single one and show us that you did, you'll be entered to win a 4K copy of Avengers Infinity War.
There you go.
Speaking of contests, we finally got to 100 likes on Facebook and on our Instagram account. So thank you,
everybody.
Thank you. Yay,
Thank
round
you.
of applause. That's big. We hope to continue to grow. But we told you that at the point that we've reached 100 followers, that we would give away a really cool Blu-ray steelbook of Spider-Man Homecoming. Well, we had a winner, and that winner is Kyle DeWitt. He's been informed. He's super stoked to be receiving it. So congrats, Kyle. It was done randomly. There was no cheating. We actually had a winner before Kyle, but he politely declined. So Kyle became next in line.
Okay. Kyle, you're going down a dark road if this is your first steelbook.
I know.
And
If
you're
you haven't
in for
noticed,
something.
we talk about these every single week. Kyle is a listener, which is cool. He does listen to our show. So Kyle, congratulations, man. With that, unless Matt, you have a rant.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not gonna have a rant this week.
No rants are sometimes a good thing.
No. Sometimes it's however, I did mention this to you, and this isn't a rant, just kind of an observation. You and I acquired the Into the Spider-Verse steelbooks, and apparently they're already sold out from Best Buy's website.
They
so
are.
Individual stores might have them. The steelbook, it's a nice looking
It
steelbook.
is.
I've seen better looking ones.
And you had a great observation about this. It seems that like a lot of Spider-Man stuff like seems to just like go.
Yeah, they drop price on it really quickly. I mean, the Spider-Man Homecoming, when I bought my copy, I think I mentioned this an episode or two ago, was like $5, which is very surprising. Like it was just a standard Blu-ray copy, but yeah, it was. Yeah, so I don't know what it is about Spider-Man.
People love Spider-Man. It's like Superman, like for Marvel. Like Spider-Man is more popular than like Iron Man and Thor and Captain America.
Well, and also, and I actually I just remembered this, is that just to kind of show you as like how, and I should have brought it just so you could actually see it, but about a month or two ago, I walked into my local Best Buy and actually, because I saw they had it on sale, they had the Spider-Man Legacy films, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
Steelbooks on sale. There was 2 steelbooks, and I cannot tell you they are the most blah looking things you will ever see. There's no wording on the spines, so both the spines are blank, and the covers
I have a DVD rack for a reason.
yeah, no shit. Come
on.
So I went in and bought all the Sam Raimi trilogy, as well as the 2 Amazing Spider-Man movies in the 2 steelbooks, and as I said, this thing could not be more like, what the frig were they thinking? Because, like, as I said, there's no wording on the spine. The steelbook itself, the only way you can even distinguish them is the spider logo is a different color. Like, one is red, the other's blue.
Lame.
Like, they don't even have like the different logos on between the 2 movies. And then, just as an added bonus, when I opened them up, I actually had to move DVD or Blu-rays around because they didn't even have them separated on there. Like, it was probably the most cheap packaging like I've ever seen for a major movie franchise.
Speaking of DVD racks, I am getting to that point where a new one is required.
Yeah. I'm rapidly approaching that
Thus
as well.
the spurn of collecting, physical copies of things. Right before we get to the per minute, let's talk about what we're going to talk about on our show today. First, we will be talking very in depth about the now completed Disney 20th Century Fox merger, which had some big revelations, as it turns out.
Yeah, we'll get to that,
which
definitely.
is pretty crazy. And Rob Migliaccio, who is becoming a regular on our show, he doesn't know it yet, but he's probably going to become our third co-host if we have anything to say about it. Will be joining us for that, as well as our final segment, which is a nice little lighthearted one. Matt, this is one of your ideas.
Yep.
TV shows of our youth, like what kind of like defined your childhood? Like what were those shows? And maybe we'll talk about, if we have time, maybe some ones that had like a negative or were so cheesy and lasted a season that they were good that you still remember them. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this discussion.
yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. But before we get to any of that, it is time for
The Permitted Minute.
the permitted minute, and we will go on my mark, which will be in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Sony is apparently developing an Into the Spider-Verse spinoff featuring Spider-Man Noir. The idea is to bring back Nicolas Cage to reprise the role.
As if I wasn't excited enough for the Dune reboot already. Bleeding Cool is reporting that the legendary Hans Zimmer will be scoring the film.
In an unexpected announcement as part of its acquisition of Fox, Disney has also acquired The Simpsons, which were expected to stay with the Fox Corporation, an offshoot of the company, with its properties left out of the merger. A new trailer and poster for John Wick 3 has been released, with Keanu Reeves stating that the third film will focus on Wick's backstory.
If an ADR session is to be believed, which looks likely, Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi will be voicing everybody's favorite assassin droid IG-88 in Jon Favreau's The Mandalorian. Also, on the heels of the news that Arrow will be coming to an end next season, The Flash suffered its lowest ratings in franchise history last week by a second.
Yes,
boom, and
yes,
it almost
boom.
knocked down my coffee.
Sorry about
which would
that.
have been criminal, sir. After, you know...
Hey, I heard you flubbing, man. You got to be on your game.
At least I brought a beverage, as Rob pointed out before we started the show.
That is good. That is good.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of Rob, Rob is going to join us when we come back. The 21st Century Fox Disney merger is now complete. A lot of things expected, and now some big news like we just talked about The Simpsons and many other things, big revelations. All that and more when we come back. Welcome back to Everything is Permitted, and we are joined by our friend and becoming regular, Rob Migliaccio. Welcome back to the show.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Sorry for no sparkling water or any of the little appetizers. We know you've been on Preston Steve.
I know.
Now,
we're in the presence of greatness here.
Where's my damn green M&Ms?
Mr. Yeah, that's right. Just the green M&Ms. Mr. Big Time over here.
Hey, first off, congratulations, guys, on 100 likes.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. It's really cool, and we hope that just continues to grow. I think that there are some other big congratulations in order, and that is to the mouse ears, Disney, for this crazy merger. But there's a lot of good with it, and there's also kind of some big revelations that we didn't see coming. It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just like as I told you before we even started, recording. I didn't even know that they had acquired The Simpsons in this. I mean, because I haven't watched Simpsons in forever, so. I mean, it should have been something I should have realized. But.
No, but here's the thing. They weren't supposed to get The Simpsons. Yeah. The original deal, because they get to keep Fox and Fox News, and they basically shelled it into, basically their small companies. So Fox News, and Fox Business.
They're like calling it New Fox. I think.
No, it's like the Fox.
I know its
called
actual
the Fox
name is the Fox Corporation,
yeah,
but everybody's just saying
New Fox. Yeah. So it's not a huge property. Apparently, the people that are getting staffed with it are getting huge stock bonuses, like $1,000 to $3,000 in stocks, and it varies for how long they stay with the company. Mm-hmm. But The Simpsons were supposed to stay with Fox, and I guess something changed last minute, and now Lisa and Marge are Disney princesses. It's true.
How? I mean, just I can't picture sitting in a meeting with Disney executives and Fox executives like hammering out, because you can only imagine there had to be this massive table with both sides just hammering out terms of the deal, like, we're going to pay you for this property and that property. And then at the last minute, like, somebody at Fox is like, by the way, do you want The Simpsons in there as well? Yeah, sure, whatever, we'll take The Simpsons.
I mean, Rob, I don't know what you think, but I personally feel like Fox probably didn't say that it had to be Disney. It's like, how about you guys also throw The Simpsons in there?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, obviously, we won't know what was said, but, I mean, it must have also been awkward for them to turn around and say, okay, to Fox and be like, yeah, we're going to throw in Simpsons as well, and be like, yeah, after all these years of making fun of us, yeah, come on, you're giving us The Simpsons. We're taking over now.
Apparently, The Simpsons, like years ago, foretold their acquisition by Disney in an episode, which is pretty funny to me. There's a lot of good with this if you're a Marvel fan. There are, I think, some Marvel fans who maybe aren't happy with it. They maybe like the idea of having some studio diversity. I'm happy. Disney now owns, or has, I guess, received back the rights to X-Men, Deadpool, and Fantastic Four, which are now under one Marvel banner, which in my opinion, they should be. I guess the question is for both of you. Rob, we'll start with you because we're our guest. How do you want to see Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios introduce these characters, if at all?
The thing is, I know Avengers is probably ending soon. I would love to see Avengers versus X-Men. At least just a one-off movie or something with that. Deadpool, I think I still see Deadpool doing its Deadpooliness thing. You can turn into a Disney princess now, because that would probably just come along.
He'll put on a tutu.
Fantastic Four, I could see them interjecting that a little bit. I don't need another Fantastic Four origin movie, flat out. So it's going to be interesting what they can pull out of their hat.
Me personally, I feel that right now, probably for the rest of this year, will be Disney and Marvel just sitting down and going, all right, what can we do with these properties? We own them now, so they have no need to rush out, a movie or something like that. I could see them sitting down, having a big, long discussion about, like, should we, what kind of movies should we make? Should we, because, as Rob said, like, the Avengers are kind of ending. Quite a few of the actors have either announced that they're riding off into the sunset. Obviously, Chris Evans is one. I think that they're going to, for probably the next year, maybe 2 years, they're going to put out like movie like Spider-Man Far From Home, or, obviously that's not something they acquired, but in this deal. But they'll put out like a small movie here or there, but there won't be this large universe moving series of stuff that comes out until Disney and Marvel's figure out what they would like to do with it going forward.
See, what I could see happening in the very immediate near future is I see Deadpool. You got to remember, as Avengers, where they were at the premiere, right after the premiere, Joss Whedon went and filmed the stinger for Avengers with them eating shawarma. They literally went from the premiere to a shawarma shop and filmed that for when it came out in theaters. Mm-hmm. I could easily see them take Ryan Reynolds, put him in one of those cool spacesuits, and either after the first credits or the second credits of Avengers Endgame, just have him like standing in Avengers, what do you call it?
HQ?
Yes, thank you. Avengers HQ, the compound, in the suit and being like, guys, left without me? Just something that simple that would, let's say, because Endgame could end on a, mediocre, I don't mean mediocre, like melancholy note. To just add in, like, okay, Deadpool's sticking around. He's now part of this universe. Give people a laugh at the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. I could see them doing that. There's plenty of time. I actually want to say it's likely they'll do that. If there's not one, I would actually be surprised. It would be amazing marketing. Rob, you hit it on the head with the Fantastic Four. When Sony and Marvel were able to come to an agreement about getting Spider-Man back, they were smart and said, we've had the Spider-Man origin movie twice now. We know who Spider-Man is. Peter Parker's been Spider-Man for a little bit. He's already fought alongside Captain America. He's established. Do a Fantastic Four movie that already kind of has, and have Tony Stark know Reed Richards, okay? There's no way Tony Stark doesn't know Reed Richards. There's no way that Bruce Banner doesn't know Reed Richards. Just have it assume that these people know each other already. But Fantastic Four have always been a major part of Marvel Comics, and a lot of the events that we see in Avengers, these movies, took place with the Fantastic Four in them in one iteration or another. So I think it's important to bring them in moving forward. I am a huge X-Men guy. Wolverine is my favorite superhero. Always has been, always will be. I'm actually more hesitant to, as much as I would like to see it, to bring them in on the sooner side. I'd like to see them really sit on them. Dark Phoenix is coming out. Apparently they're not going to can the movie, which I think they should. But I don't think that you can merge those two universes. I think there's just too many timeline issues to try and make that work.
No, my feeling is that once Dark Phoenix comes out, that's the end of the Fox X-Men,
no doubt,
franchise, movies, timeline, whatever you'd like to call it, because I could see them. I mean, I could see them recasting pretty much everybody. Although I like James McAvoy as Professor X, Michael Fassbender as Magneto, like, outstanding in those roles. I've really enjoyed them. I'd be happy if they maintain them, but they probably won't, because I could see them just wanting to go completely fresh and just say like we're going to start something new, we're going to recast all these roles. And that's why, as I said, I could see them just taking a break from, they acquired all this stuff, but just we're going to take the time, find the right actors that have good chemistry, that fit the role, and like as I said, like they'll just take the time to develop it before they actually put out a movie. They'll take the time to get the right people.
But look at where we have X-Men now and Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. Currently, where we stand right now, we have two different cast as the main characters. So X-Men, you had the original 3 movies, Bryan Singer, and then the X-Men you currently have is this alternative timeline and whatnot. Fantastic Four, same thing. And then more than likely, popular vote is going to say, yeah, we're going to have a third, version of these two teams. Are we eventually going to have a second Avengers team? I
think there's no doubt, right?
Yeah, I hope not, because can you really top Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark or Chris Evans as Captain America?
I personally think with what they're building towards now, it's already shaping up to be a good team for when the original 5 are gone. You have Captain Marvel, who will probably take up the stance of being their new leader, which is something that's happened in the comics before. The leadership's always changing. Right this very second, currently, Black Panther is the chairperson and leader of the Avengers. It's the new Avengers run is fantastic. You have Captain Marvel, you have Black Panther, you have Peter Parker, you have Doctor Strange, you have, I'm forgetting someone, Ant-Man, and War Machine, Wanda, Vision. That's a big team already. And then my personal opinion is that Wolverine has always, he started as an X-Men, but in the later years, in the late 90s, 2000s, he's been just as much of an Avenger as he has in X-Men. So I think it's important to get Wolverine into the MCU as much as possible. But they're building to another Avengers movie with the new team, no doubt. They wouldn't have made these movies otherwise.
That's fine. And also when you're saying with Wolverine, how far down the road do we go into creating a new Wolverine character? Do we still think that the wound with Hugh Jackman is still fresh? Because I personally love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
What do you think?
I understand a lot of people will think it's sacrilege to recast Wolverine, but it's something you're going to have to do. I don't know how old Hugh Jackman is off the top of my head.
Too old.
Yeah, but he's not. If you're gonna
you have to do like Old Man Logan again or something.
Yeah. If you're gonna go down the road of basically doing a new X-Men, and this is the new Magneto, this is the new Professor X. You can't have Hugh Jackman, who's probably in his late 40s at least, I'd say, if not his 50s.
Maybe into his 50s.
Into his 50s now, maybe even a little bit older than that. You can't have him running around, because how long is he going to be able to play that role or want to play that role?
We need Wolverine with an Australian accent. Throwback to the last episode.
Throwback. From what I understand from fellow nerds and people I've talked to, an article I've seen, Hugh Jackman wants Wolverine recast. He's hung up the clause. And I think people are very open to it, actually. I think people want to see a younger take, because they all know Hugh Jackman, part of Wolverine being Wolverine is that he doesn't age. He does very slowly.
Yeah.
But you need a younger actor to replace him, and there are many good actors right now who can do it. I should have done some research and given some names. I didn't. That's something that you guys, our listeners, can do. If you know someone that you'd like to see recast as Wolverine, shoot us a email at permittedpod@gmail.com. Shoot us a Facebook message. Let us know what you think. Let's. I feel like we could talk about this specific aspect of the merger
we could go
for
into this
literally an entire episode. We won't do that. I think there are endless amounts of ways that they can do this, and I think as soon as Avengers Endgame is over, I think Kevin Feige has said even that we're not going to wait very long to make some announcements. You got to imagine he's been sitting on this for a while and has already been the mastermind at work.
Let's be fair. How long has this acquisition been going on for? I'm sure he probably already had the whiteboard up and say, as soon as we get X-Men, I'm going after this guy to play this person and stuff like that.
So I feel like we we kind of answered this question already. If you think it's a good thing, I mean, I guess that's for a yes or no. Do you think, with some finality, it's a good thing that all of the Marvel characters are under one umbrella now?
Yeah, I'm cool with it. It's I kind of wish it almost had happened years ago.
Yeah,
because we could have been spared some bad movies,
continuity issues,
and stuff like that. I'm excited to see what they do with it. Because I give Marvel credit. I'm not going to say that their movies are the greatest cinema ever, but they're enjoyable movies that are what they are. And so they've earned, in my opinion, a little bit of trust and say, all right, they're going to make this work. They're going to do something that I'm going to enjoy sitting in a movie theater, munching on popcorn, saying, this looks like a good time, or I'm enjoying this.
All I have to say is it's about damn time. Because if you look at it, look at the comics. You don't have these different offshoots with, different characters doing, or different companies doing, Marvel, comics and whatnot. You might have some spin-offs every once in a while, but I mean, having this all under one roof, you can do bigger stuff. You can interject different characters, mention different characters here and there, and not have the big old, lawyer lawsuit pop down on you real fast.
Literally endless possibilities.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's get to, unfortunately with a merger like this, it's been mired in some controversy, whether this is a monopoly or not, which under law you could say it is, but the government's kind of let it go.
Yeah.
Layoffs have started immediately. I'm going to go through some big names here for layoffs. Disney's blah 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 blah. President of Domestic Distribution, Chris Aronson, was released, which is insane. I had a whole list here. I'll edit this whole bit out. They also laid off the consumer products boss, Jim Fielding. All of these people. It just are a couple of big names like that. It's been insane. Around 3,000 employees are rumored to get laid off around all of Fox's departments, except for what they're now calling the Fox Corporation. I guess you can't have not expected this to happen. It's a merger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, does it suck that they're closing down, different departments inside Fox? Absolutely. Do we know that this was coming? Yes. But like you said before, it's a merger. It's some people are going to lose their jobs. Some blood is going to be shed, but that's how everything goes now, unfortunately.
The one thing surrounding this that has not been handled well, apparently, is the communication. Apparently, Disney has just not, communicated, except for these big names that have been released, who's going to get laid off and who's not, which is why there's this kind of discrepancy in this number of 3,000. Some people thought it could be as high as 7,000 employees. It does look like it's going to be at this 3,000. I mean, you would expect a company like Disney to be handling something of this magnitude a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll be totally frank with you. I don't feel as much pity for the people who are getting laid off, who are like the higher ups.
No,
like the president of distribution and everything. He's going to land on his feet. He's not going to be, struggling, looking for work and being like, oh God, how am I going to pay my? He'll be fine. The people who are like the low rungs on the ladder, who just had a nice job and stuff like that, or the average working stiff. I feel bad for them. Yeah, and as Rob said, yeah, it's the stuff that happens, but that's no comfort for those people who had a job one day and now are being told that because essentially one of the wealthiest corporations in the world bought our company, you no longer have a job.
Yeah, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. I was going to mention, hearing about these, high up, it's like, okay, these people were going to get released. They make millions of dollars. They're going to land a job in the next 2 weeks at another studio or something. It's the people in creative, maybe like writers, the people that work for these higher ups that really are the ones that get screwed. And I'm hoping that there are jobs at other studios for them as well. The movie industry is booming and massive. You hope that people land on their feet. The biggest blow, and what people weren't expecting, is that a lot of people within Fox thought that Disney would keep Fox 2000, which has been for years and years and years a safe haven for like indie films and mid-budget films, comedies, I think some foreign language films.
Yeah.
And they're closing that, which is kind of huge news. I mean, is this maybe going to go down as the biggest mistake they've made in the merger?
My personal feeling on this is that's a bad thing, because I'm always on board with giving new, fresh voices an outlet to tell a story. I can't now. Obviously, I can't sit here and name what movies Fox 2000's done. I'm sure
Devil Wears Prada is one.
Really?
Yeah, the Devil Wears Prada. Yeah.
Wow. So I mean, and the thing is that like when you silence, and maybe silence is the wrong word, when you take away an avenue for a young director who has a story they want to tell, a vision, something like that. When you take away an avenue, and we have to be honest here, Disney is, like any business, cares about making money. They don't care about taking these risks, because I mean, I don't even, does Disney ever bankroll independent films? Do they ever do anything like that? I don't know.
And Rob, before I let you go on your opinion of this, just to answer your question a little bit more, besides Devil Wears Prada, movies like Hidden Figures, Fox 2000,
wow.
Yeah, The Art of Racing in the Rain with Kevin Costner, The Women in the Window with Gary Oldman and Amy Adams, and then a big one with Shailene Woodley, Fault in Our Stars. Yeah, these are those kind of movies. Yeah. And no, Disney doesn't really do this kind of thing, as far as I know.
No, looking at the main Disney movie company, I don't see that really being in their fold. That being said, who's to say that they might not turn around in the future and say, okay, you know what, we want to go somewhere a little bit different. I mean, go back a couple of years. Do you think, when you mention Disney Nature, do we really see Disney going with these nature films about penguins and whales and turtles and plants and earth and all that stuff? No, we really didn't. Everybody kind of thought of it. Personally, for me, think of it as, okay, yeah, it's an animation,
right.
animation cartoon.
And BBC's so well known for doing like so much of that nature stuff too. So yeah, no, I think, Matt, you don't so much agree, but
I mean, my feeling, like, the thing with Disney is, and this merger or acquisition, I guess, kind of further shows that Disney likes to mine other people's creativity to get stuff. I mean, Disney doesn't really produce a lot of original content. A lot of their movies are based off of folklores, they're based off of, urban legends, things like that. And now that they essentially have Fox, because basically it seems to me like the prevailing wisdom is that, look, we might not always be able to create it, but we can buy it.
Yeah.
Why do I need to try and create a new space epic when I can just go out and buy Star Wars?
Yeah.
And things like that. It's, as I said, I just feel that one of my main concerns is that Disney will just further monetize things like, as Rob said, like they make like the Disney nature stuff, like they're monetizing cuteness and stuff like that. Like, oh, Disney makes the movie about the penguins and such like that. That's so nice to see. I love that stuff. It makes me happy to see that stuff. Versus, and going back to Fox 2000 and stuff like that, versus a movie about, like, say, Hidden Figures, which explored the inherent racism within a major government agency of NASA.
Yep.
In, like attempting the moon landing and such like that. Like, that's a story that deserved to be told versus, like, I want to watch penguins play and things like that.
Well, it's kind of, going off of that. I mean, you could, the whole thing was, with this merger, them saying, okay, well, what's going to be cut from Fox? Are they really going to let Deadpool slap on a Disney, sticker with Deadpool? But obviously we're going,
and we're
going to go forward with that. But I mean, do people really see, going into like a historical film slapped on with a Disney. I would really, really hope so. I mean, we've seen other films from that aren't technically Disney, like Saving Mr. Banks. Mm-hmm. That's not really a Disney film, but it's about, it's about how Mary Poppins was.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's just a huge mistake because Disney said that they're going to use the 21st century, marketing for some things. They're not just going to slap on the Disney logo and said they're still going to use 21st Century Fox. So I don't see where this hurts them. It's not going to cost. They're billions. They are Mr. DuckTales.
Scrooge McDuck.
They're Scrooge McDuck, like swimming in money. Like this, it wouldn't have hurt them to keep Fox 2000 up. I think it's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Maybe they go back on it. Maybe they don't. Another piece of news before we go into our next segment here that seems to be floating around is that one of the big changes they were going to be doing. Ridley Scott was going to be doing another Alien movie, and now it sounds like they're going to repurpose all of Alien for television, which seems like, again, just not a good move. And I guess because Alien stuff is generally rated R.
Yeah. And
I think the properties that they're trying to keep rated R are going to be like Marvel films, and because they're keeping Deadpool as an R-rated thing.
I mean, I hadn't heard about that before we started recording. I am pretty much dead set against an Alien TV show. Because I can't. How the hell would you do an Alien TV show? Because you have to have multiple aliens, so kind of like Aliens, the second movie. Because one alien, what are you going to base an entire season around running around a spaceship with an alien chasing, and maybe one cast member a week dies? I mean, what the hell are you going to do?
It would be like The Walking Dead, except Alien, maybe.
Yeah, but there are some things in entertainment that don't translate well to another form of entertainment. Alien, in my opinion, can't be a TV show. I mean, maybe you prove me wrong. Maybe they're going to prove me wrong. But an Alien TV show, just tell me if, like, both of you guys can tell me if just that doesn't just kind of make you go like, what?
For me, it makes me cringe, mainly because part of what makes Alien movies, and even Prometheus, which was okay, so fun and intriguing, is the mystery surrounding all of it, and how each movie kind of gives you more questions at the end than answers. And you do a TV show, you're just not going to be able to have that same kind of format at all. Instead, it's going to be like a big bad of the week, or whatever, which is just not what Alien should be.
Yeah, and to me, like a TV show, it's going to focus more on like the, and I understand like they need to be relationships and such like that, but it's going to focus more on the like, Cindy, remember we were married once. Like let's flash back to that memory that we had together, Cindy, and about our marriage. Meanwhile, as you said, in the background we have frickin' aliens running around. So
I don't know. I want to see the alien in his college years. Personally, I hate aliens.
Really?
I hate the Alien franchise. I do not like it at all. The friggin' Alien movies gave me nightmares when I was a kid.
Oh, but that's the point.
Yeah,
it was horrible. Like, even when I went down to Disney when the Great Movie Ride was still around, I would always cringe up and close my eyes when it went into the alien portion and be like, nope, I don't want to deal with this. Don't want to deal with this. Get me the Wizard of Oz. I hate it. I don't see it as a television series. Like you said, they're going to have to try and do it as more backstory with it. Maybe now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Sydney die in? Sorry for spoilers. You've had 20, 30 something years for it. Did she die in the movie?
Are you talking about Ripley?
Ripley, yes. Sorry.
He hates aliens.
Damn.
I'm thinking Sigourney Weaver.
I would like your nerd card, please, sir. No,
fine.
Yes,
she does. She does
yes,
that.
Ellen Ripley died in Alien 3.
And it was well, and then they did the whole stupid.
Oh, that's right. The Alien
Resurrection BS with Winona Ryder, which is one of the worst films probably in the history of film.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'll pass on that one.
Awful.
But I mean, I could see her if they really wanted to. If you want to do an origin stories of Ripley, or where she turns into like what is it, the Wyland Corporation?
Oh, the Wayland
Oh,
Utility
yeah.
Corporation.
You know, she could become like the CEO of that or something like that. But obviously, she's dead. So.
I mean,
it
like,
could be her clone.
as
Well, that was Alien Resurrection.
Oh, there you go.
like as I said, it takes like, and also fun fact, there are actually Alien books, and I read a few of them, you know, back in my high school years, 20 years ago. And some of them were actually very good stories, you know, and they had nothing. And one of them actually dealt with the aliens getting to Earth, and I forget the name of the book. I'd have to look it up. Very good books. Now, as I said, an alien. But if you maybe did like a certain episode a week for like maybe 10 episodes, like the only way I could see it possibly working is you had self-contained stories around aliens, but every week it was a different character, a different location. Something like that. You couldn't have a season arc. You couldn't have a season-long story arc in an Alien
Or in a
TV show.
mini-series style like FX does a lot and does successfully with Fargo. You
Yeah.
know, like a 4-episode, like basically mini movie, or, you know,
Yeah,
4-hour movie.
That is the only way I could see it working.
And that, I actually do think that could work.
Yes.
But that, like you said, is the only way.
Yeah,
The only
you
way.
can't have this like 18, 20 episode long season about, as I said, you're gonna delve into character bullshit backstory, which is okay to a point, but let's be honest here. When I get on the aliens the ride, I want to see the goddamn aliens. I'm not there. And I mean, and honestly, and the thing is though, is that any Alien TV show has so much to live up to, because probably one of my favorite action scenes in any movie ever is from the second Aliens movie, when Sigourney Weaver basically starts laying waste to the eggs, and that horn music comes in and the camera's shaking and she's just going completely apeshit. Probably one of my favorite action scenes of any
It's pretty
movie,
legit.
period.
Yeah.
And as I said, like, trying to have a TV show live up to that is a tough ask.
And I do like Alien, so I'd like to see the franchise continue. And like Rob, they scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. But that's part of the reason that they're so good. They're so
They're doing a steelbook 4K steelbook release
because of course they are.
for the it's only like $20, but for the 40th anniversary of the first Alien movie, they're doing a steelbook 4K release.
Well, certainly a lot to take in with probably, I would say, the biggest merger of, I think, the decade,
Oh, yeah.
maybe of the past couple of decades. You know, maybe Time Warner, AOL, maybe tops that, maybe not. Comcast has bought a lot of things, but this is, I mean, Disney is building, like they're building an empire.
Disney's rolling with an iron fist.
Well,
I love
it's
it.
like Disney is like Winterfell, or maybe Comcast is Winterfell, and Disney is, you know, where the Iron Throne is.
I'm gonna go slightly nerdier for that on you. Disney at this point is frickin' Aegon the Conqueror stepping into Westeros and saying, "You're gonna bend the knee," and everybody's like, "No, I don't think I'm gonna." And then Disney just crushes them.
What's funny with that, and I know
Here be dragons.
yeah, and we'll be going. I know we'll be going into the next topic, but with Disney, like I said before, I'm a big theme park fan. Disney has a contract with Universal Studios Florida to keep the Marvel stuff going for a little bit. Disney can ultimately be jerks to Universal one day once the contract is up and says, all right, I want you to take out your Spider-Man ride, Incredible Hulk the coaster, all your characters, all your merchandise, and bring it over just a couple miles away down the road. I mean,
And that would be the dickest of moves, but
I think they will.
Me. Yeah.
I honestly think that they will.
it's going to happen eventually. And, you know, do you guys think maybe Universal can strike a deal with DC in the future?
I mean, that might be what they might have to
You
do.
could replace Spider-Man the ride with Aquaman the ride and put it in that the water part of Universal.
I mean,
there's definitely options.
Yeah, I mean, you need only, for people who might be like, oh, they won't interfere with Universal Studios. You need only see what Disney does to movie theaters when one of their big releases comes out, where they basically like tell them, you're going to have it on this many theaters.
I mean, look how we talked about it a couple of shows ago. How many screens Captain Marvel was on, like every 15 minutes to half an hour.
So yeah, I mean, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what they do, but I mean, and I know we're going to briefly touch upon it. Do you want to talk about the Simpsons acquisition as well?
Yeah, we're running out of time a little bit, but I do think that we need to touch on it because it's such a massive issue, because like we said at the beginning of the show, it wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah,
so,
it was last minute. Last minute, we're discussing The Simpsons.
Literally,
Like
someone went to the updated like Disney Jobs website, and The Simpsons was in the banner, and they're like, "Oh shit, Disney got The Simpsons."
Yeah,
which is that's crazy how that was kind of found out.
Yeah, and that's and the funny thing is that The Simpsons is not the cultural force it once was when I was a kid in the '90s or anything, but it still kind of like surprises me, like, oh, Fox no longer owns this, because I mean, The Simpsons made Fox. That's you can argue it all you want, but The Simpsons was their first major landmark cultural icon that pretty much defined the network for at least the 90s.
Yeah.
Bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean, I can say The Simpsons are going to stick around for a little bit. We were just having this conversation with maybe they get up to the 30th anniversary and then say, okay, you know what? The ride was fun. Let's, go off into the sunset and whatnot. Also going back to the whole
time, right? Like, it's time. It's been.
I think it's already been renewed for like, because the 30th season, you could get it right now online, because I think I mentioned before we recorded that I would like to watch it from the first episode to current day. The 30th episode is available for purchase online, so I think they're getting ready to go into the 31st season this year.
Oof.
Like, I work with kids who were not alive when it first aired, and in fact, some of them even have their own children.
It was like 89, wasn't it?
89.
89.
Hi, how you doing? I'm 28
years old.
So look at that.
Oh my God, Rob!
God damn it, Rob! Why'd you do that to me?
Hello, welcome to your reality.
Oh my God, I was 3 years old. I think though that they could. Simpsons is great marketing. I could see Marge and Lisa and Bart and Homer walking around Disney World and Disneyland. I mean, all of a sudden you have the Simpsons there. That's like more poses. That's more money. That's more merchandise. They could keep it going for another 9 seasons.
They could, and we did once again talk about this before we recorded. But and you're talking to someone who adored The Simpsons growing up. Like, I watched every episode every Sunday. From like 8 to 9 o'clock, my Sunday night was The Simpsons and then Married with Children.
Great segue.
That was my stuff. So, and I'm personally feel that The Simpsons should end. And as I said before, one of the main cast passes away or decides they don't want to do it, and it's ended for you. Like, give the creators a chance to write their own ending.
Yeah.
Whether it be a movie or just, have like a slow pan back from the town of Springfield, and that way we can say The Simpsons will continue having their wacky adventures in our memories and minds and such like that.
Well, that was kind of supposed to be the whole, when the Simpsons movie came out, that was supposed to be it. We're done.
Yeah, their swan song.
Thanks for coming, but I mean, it kept going on and on.
Well, speaking of shows that we adore, you adored The Simpsons growing up. Let's talk about some of those that we adored as kids that really kind of made up our youth. I know there's a bunch for me. Matt, you mentioned The Simpsons. Rob, you're our guest. I'll start with you right away. You're 28. You're the youngin here, so it might be different from our answers. What's a show that kind of like shaped you to who you are today? Like a big show that influenced you in your childhood?
Honestly, Simpsons. Simpsons was
killing me right now.
I know, right? No, but I love The Simpsons. I always watched it. I have all the seasons on DVD. Personally, I really did like the old X-Men animated series. That was one of my favorite. That's always a go back. If I'm bored, I want to watch that. I'm trying to think what else. Even going into like the arcades. They used to have X-Men in the game. Like, that was like the big thing to match
X-Men
up.
The game was so much fun. There's a good Sega Genesis X-Men game based around the animated series as well. That was a lot of fun.
I mean, like I said, I always liked the 90s. Like I said, I know you guys have talked about the 90s. Shows in the past.
We're trying to relive our childhoods a little bit.
But well, let's see. Back when I was 5 or 6, but But yeah, I always did enjoy it. And then when I got, of course, older into the late 90s, I could actually watch, like you said, Married with Children and whatnot. Of course, some of the stuff I didn't get back then, and now I go back and say, holy crap, I actually was allowed to watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I also will first say The Simpsons, just because, as I said, I remember watching the very first episode, Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire, I believe is the title for it. So it was a Christmas episode in 1989. I actually, no shit, recorded it on a VCR.
What's a VCR?
I know, right? Shut up. I recorded it on a VHS tape, and, because back then you could, if you paused the recording, you would not record the commercials. So I actually brought the VHS that I recorded the Simpsons episode into my elementary school class. And also, just as an added bonus, I recorded the Married with Children episode right afterwards where Sam Kinison guest starred.
Wow.
Where he guest starred as a guardian angel. And the best part is, my teacher let us watch it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let us watch both episodes because there was no commercials, and like recess was was like 30 minutes or something like that. And so both episodes were condensed because there was no commercials. So, but anyway, yes, Simpsons and Married with Children were staples of my 90s Sunday nights. Simpsons I loved because it basically lampooned like pretty much almost all of media and culture and such like that. Its commentary was biting. It was funny. Even some of their old episodes, and I've kind of gone back and watched some of them on the FX streaming service, still make me laugh.
Yeah.
And we're talking, these jokes are like 20, 25 years old, and it still gets a laugh out of me. Married with Children is another one because, Ed O'Neill, I know a lot of people probably know him for Modern Family. He will always be Al
Bundy, baby.
Al Bundy, sitting on his couch, putting his hand down his pants, leaning back.
Katie, now you go.
and also Katie Seagal will also be forever Peg Bundy to me.
If you don't know Kate Seagal, obviously Peg Bundy, but she also
Sons of Anarchy,
which is one of
also
my favorite shows.
Another
of all
show
time.
that helped define I will say it is the greatest TV show ever made. Period. Is Futurama.
Never watched.
You've never watched
a single
What?
episode.
Futurama?
Are you serious?
Futurama, pound for
hand
pound.
in your nerd card.
Yeah, I
Come
know.
on.
We'll
like-
trade
Okay, yeah,
card
that's
for
fine,
card.
that's fine.
Futurama, pound for pound, is probably the greatest TV show ever made. It's been canceled like 2 or 3 times, I
And it
think.
keeps coming back.
And it came back.
I
each
lied.
time.
I watched my first episode of Futurama 2 weeks ago because there's like nothing on TV. It's like he gets turned, like he keeps stealing parts from a robot and to like better himself, and then becomes a killer robot, and then they stitch him back together. I don't know. I don't know anything about the
But
show.
yeah, Futurama is because
that
Futurama
was
pretty much had everything I could have
Sounds
asked
like
for. It had the Simpsons art style that and I was a huge.
It was Mike
Simpsons
Groening,
fan
right?
with.
It was the same
Yeah,
man.
Matt
Groening. Sorry,
Matt Groening, or Groening, I think is how you say his name. Is it I think it's Groening.
Well, I still don't know how to pronounce Kevin Feige, or Kevin Feige.
I was wondering if you were saying that right
Well,
the
I
whole
heard
time
in
when
an
you said his
interview it was
name.
pronounced Feige,
Oh.
so I'm now going with that until I'm told differently.
But yes, Futurama helped define me because it has episodes that have made me laugh, made me cry. I mean, like
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
You want to see a grown man cry? You watch Jurassic Park.
I mean, and even like Luck of the Fryish when it delved into the story of Fry and his brother.
Are we still on The Simpsons?
No, this is Futurama. This is Futurama. Simpsons has had some moments that have made me tear up, like Mother Simpson when Homer's mother leaves him and he's sitting on the car looking at the stars. Awesome moment, great music. So Futurama, probably my favorite TV show of all time, helped define my childhood and my nerddom.
So, because like you both kind of talked about like funny shows, I wasn't originally going to start with one, but I will start with it. For me, comedy was like that made me laugh, and really something I still watch every single day today. It helps me go to sleep. Is Friends.
I never watched Friends.
really?
I
So
hated
we're all
Friends.
handing in
Wow.
each other's nerd cards today, because I consider that like nerds love Friends.
Yeah.
It's in there.
Kind of.
I've probably seen every single episode of Friends at least 5 or 6 different times. It was I don't want to get too deep here, but I lost my mom when I was 5 and went through kind of like a really crappy phase of my childhood, and I was living with my dad for a few years. And one of my biggest escapes, like we had this cool. Of course, my dad returned it into his office at a point later on, but this cool basement with all my dad's like sound equipment and like the nice TV, and like we would build pillow forts and stuff, and we would watch Friends, and we would watch Schnick or Nick at Night on Friday with like Are You Afraid of the Dark, and I think and then we'd watch new episodes like Friends for me, and I was probably too young to be watching Friends, but I still got it enough, and it just still defines me today. I can go back and just if Friends is on, I watch it.
Oh yeah.
I crack up at jokes I've heard countless times.
Pivot.
Shut up. Oh, such a great show. Also, if you want to stick in comedy real quick, have you guys watched Frasier?
I watched it here or there. I remember watching Cheers. I remember watching Cheers' final episode.
I loved, and again, I was too young for it,
What's
but
Cheers?
somehow I got it enough where I could appreciate it, and I loved Frasier. And then I went back and watched the whole series again once I was a grown up, and just appreciated it even more. But for me, the biggest one coming out of the comedy realm, there's a reason I do this podcast. I'm a giant nerd.
Okay.
It literally has defined who I am today. It is literally, again, not to get too deep, kind of the reason I'm still alive. I went through some really dark times, and for me, Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yes.
It really kind of built me into who I am today. It offered hope. It offered a great just escape from kind of the shitty world around me, and going from that to then Star Trek: Deep Space Nine, which offered a whole different kind of escape and story. A little bit of a darker theme, like those got me in, like those were my like marijuana into heavier drugs into nerdom. It wasn't Star Wars for me first. It was Star Trek that brought me to Star Wars, and Star Wars that brought me to Battlestar Galactica and Stargate and things like that. I mean, Stargate and Battlestar Galactica are the reasons I'm married to Karen. It's what we met over and had our first dates over. But Star Trek is the reason for all of that. And again, Next Generation, you if that show's on, you just sit down and watch it. I mean, Jean-Luc Picard, one of the greatest, characters, not just for science fiction, just of all time. That show, despite some really crappy first couple of seasons, turned into, I mean, it goes down.
Oh no, it's in the pantheon of greatest TV shows ever.
And nothing can take away from that at all.
No,
so,
absolutely.
I have never watched a single episode.
I'm throwing down my headphones. The show's over.
God,
the show's over.
What is up with you, man?
I know.
What's wrong with
Ladies
you?
and gentlemen, if you were expecting Rob to come on to our next episode next week, he will not be joining us.
Might hear us beating him up in a minute.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was a Star Wars guy.
Man,
I know. I was one of those. And there shouldn't be a war between Star Wars.
No,
and
there
Star
shouldn't.
Trek.
But there really isn't anymore. People love both now.
But I remember back in the day, like when nerds in like the early internet day culture were like, would have those stupid arguments like the Enterprise D could beat the Death Star because it has shields and the photon torpedoes can go down the exhaust pipe.
Oh no, people be like, what if the Enterprise D went up against the Millennium Falcon? I'm like, one's a capital ship and one is a freaking freighter.
A Star Destroyer could easily destroy the Enterprise D.
Like, get the hell out of here. I can't believe you right now.
Fine, I'll go on another podcast where I actually give me green M&Ms and sparkling water. Preston and Steve want me on next week.
That actually legit surprises me. You've never watched Star Trek: Next Generation.
No, unfortunately.
If we were at my house, I would be handing you my box.
You're going to watch this shit.
It's on the watch list.
You need to put it to the first, like to the top of your watch list.
And I think the next series, I think now it's going... it's wrapping up now in its 15th season. It's Supernatural.
Yes.
I have it on my list.
I'm never going to watch an episode of that show. Karen watched like 8 seasons and gave up.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought people liked it.
They do, but apparently like 15 seasons.
No, that's a little bit long.
Well, that's why I've been waiting just to binge it. So
shows. So those are the shows that kind of helped define us. Had huge influences on. Were there any shows that maybe lasted like a season and got canceled that still had like a tremendous effect on you?
I'm gonna cut all you assholes off right now and say Firefly.
Yes.
Because I know that somebody was
come
gonna
out of
say
each one of our
boom, I
mouths.
just beat you all to the punch. So Firefly, even though like I forget what year it came out, I probably wasn't a kid. I was probably over 18,
But still,
because I turned 18 in 2000, so
I was in high school, I think.
yeah. So, but Firefly was one of those shows. Lasted a season, left me wanting more. You know, I saw the movie in theaters when it came out. I was in the military. I showed this. I had the first season on DVD when I was in the military. When I was on 24-hour duty, when you literally just sit behind a desk and just kind of stare at the wall. Like I had a portable DVD player. I busted out Firefly. We watched an entire season. It was like one of my sergeants and a guy I work with. They both loved it. We watched the only season, I should say, and they both enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, you took my trump.
Yeah,
Yeah, you took each of our.
that's
yeah.
right.
I guess, I mean, maybe going off of that, kind of, and I know it really wasn't a TV show or even like a real movie. It was more or less like webisodes. Dr. Horrible sing-along blog.
Okay.
How old were you when that came out?
Crap, I think I was in college.
All right,
for
you get
that.
you
So
get a pass. That's still kind of
I know
being
we
a
just
kid.
would
You're not
watch
quite mature
watch
yet.
it. But I mean, going with like Nathan Fillion and Neil Patrick Harris and
Felicia Day.
Felicia Day.
I got
Thank you.
I got you.
Thank you.
Speaking of, sorry, real quick, Felicia Day showed up though. We were talking about it off air.
Felicia Day's here.
That would be awesome. In The Magicians.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, I love her in. I don't know if you watch Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I've watched a couple
The
episodes
Return.
of the new one.
She is great as Kinga. And that's I kind of wish. I mean, maybe that's another one with Mystery Science Theater. The original Mystery Science Theater. I mean, they could have kept going, but then they obviously. Thankfully brought it back with Netflix.
I mean, we honestly could probably spend an entire hour episode just going through like the TV shows I gave you that helped define me. Like that's not even close.
Oh, no.
to my list.
Yeah.
Because Mystery Science Theater. I'll just segue real quick just for a moment. Is the reason why I make snarky ass comments during movies or TV shows that I don't like.
Everybody's reason.
I know, but even people who've never seen the show, I tell them like that is like whether you know it or not, that show is why you do that. So,
I can't give another example because you trumped me, you bastard.
how about this? Even though it lasted for like I think 3 or 4 seasons, but it wasn't good for the last season or two. The show Sliders.
I never watched an episode of Sliders. I always had an opportunity to, and I just didn't.
Sliders was one of those 90s shows that like because they basically traveled to different dimensions, so different Earths, and so they had fun with it for a while and had different ideas. Like they had they had a U.S. where the Constitution was never passed, so the government was this huge, like repressive agency. They had another one where the Declaration of Independence was never signed,
cool.
and George Washington was hung as a spy. So the entire United States was still a massive British colony.
Oh wow,
and things like that. So Sliders had fun, and I know there's been rumors that they're considering rebooting it.
That would be
doing
cool.
it. Yeah, I'd love to see alternate universes, alternate Earths, and all that other stuff.
Well, we are running out of time here, but like you said, Matt, I think there are so many shows. I think between the two of us, and I'm sure Rob as well, that we watch as kids that just are awesome. That's gonna do it for this week's show. Next week, we have a couple of cool things. Matt and I, a couple hours after we record this, are going to see Shazam.
Yes.
For 2 weeks early for a cool Fandango promo that they're doing. So we will be doing a early review of that, and I'm hoping to steal you one night later this week to also go see Us, so we can review that as well. If not, that's a maybe. But we might get to that as well. I'd like to thank Rob for coming on again and joining us, despite the fact that you've never fucking seen Star Trek.
You've never seen
Aliens.
Futurama, so
to hell with both of you.
Come at me, bro. Just come at me.
I'd also like to thank our hosts here at Wade's Comic Madness as always, and we will be back next week. Have a good night.
To the moon, by a plane to the rock.